Welcome to the Bold Lounge podcast. My name is Lee Burgess, and I will be your host. If you're anything like me, you love hearing inspiring stories of people who have gone on bold journeys and made a positive impact in the world. This podcast is all about those kinds of stories. Every week, we'll hear from someone who has taken a leap or embarked on an extraordinary journey. In addition to hearing their stories, we'll also learn about their bold growth mindset that they use to make things happen. Whether they faced challenges or doubts along the way, they persisted and ultimately achieved their goals. These impactful stories will leave you feeling motivated and inspired to pursue your own bold journey. I believe everyone has a bold story waiting to be freed. Tune in and get ready to be inspired. Welcome to the Bold Lounge. Today I have Jeff Conway. He is an Emmy-nominated TV host and also the Forbes Senior Contributor. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, Lee. Happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on. Is there anything you want to add to that? I know you're an uncle, you're a fitness lover. There's a whole other, there's many
You've
other
been reading
things.
my Instagram byline, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I don't know what kind of fitness, but you're a fitness lover. So I didn't know if you want to add in anything else.
Well, fitness lover, I do not go to therapy, I'll be honest, but my therapy and my vice is fitness. So that just gets me calm. It breaks up my day between work. So I'm just very grateful for fitness. And that's whether I'm going on a hike here in Los Angeles or I'm going to my gym or both some days. I just like to kind of push my limits physically whenever I can, in a safe way, of course, but in a way that, I'm 37 and want to keep all this together in the best way I can. And you know what I mean? It just, it doesn't get easier,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I really enjoy fitness. And then, yes, I'm a devoted uncle. All of my nieces and nephews are back in the Chicagoland area, but I send them like letters all the time with little gifts and such. I'm sending one of them a big playhouse today ship. So like, even when I'm not around, I try to remind them, they're like, hey, your Uncle Jeff loves you. And I know I don't have to do it through gifts, but I just like to, because at that age, that's how they respond, through little playful toys and whatnot.
Yeah, how old are they? What are their ages?
So I have twin nephews from my twin brother, which is wild, and they are 1, almost 2. I have a 3-year-old niece and goddaughter that's also his, and then my older sister has 2 girls, and they are 8 and 6.
Well, wow, those are some super fun ages too.
They are.
Well, super cool. So I'd love to jump into kind of your boldness and really curious about what your definition of bold is.
So, it's funny, and I'm glad you actually bring this up because I don't really think about that too often. I love the term bold, but I never think about that with myself. I use words for myself personally, like tenacious, because I am very tenacious in my work and making it happen on my own because I don't like to wait for people. I think it's a type A personality kind of thing, which I'm not sorry about. I used to kind of see it as almost like an insecurity, and now I kind of fully embrace it. But bold-wise, I think bold is being able to go away from the norm and not shine away from being different. Sometimes I think in our society, being different can be seen as an outcast. And for many years, I saw myself as that, being a little bit of an outcast, even within my family, just because I kind of had a different creative mindset and everything, even in my business. But I think being bold is going for what you want and doing it the right way. I'm really big about that. Like, I love the work I do. I work hard. I make connections. But at the end of the day, when I go to bed, I need to, and I know me, I need to be like, Jeff, you did great today, and you did it all the right way. You weren't conniving, you weren't manipulative, and that really matters to me. And I don't think that matters to everybody, especially in my business, unfortunately,
Yeah.
in entertainment. But for me, that matters, to be able to do everything the right way with integrity, but also to be able to succeed on your own terms. And that's what I think what's bold means to me, and what I think should mean to others.
I love that. So succeeding on your own terms and being you, and you hear a lot of people say, be unapologetically you, be authentic. Like, authentic is definitely in the business world something that's over and over and over and stuff. But I don't know if people truly understand what that means, right? It means actually being bold and maybe standing out. It doesn't always mean blending in. And it means accepting that you're different. And it could mean accepting that people may not even understand you, but being okay about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even I think with like the political climate we're in, whether you're affiliated with any political party or not, authenticity has been a little bit blurred for a lot of people, and they don't know what's true. And even with AI, artificial intelligence, we have like that chat GBT.
Yeah.
These are not humans. So these are people creating, which is amazing technology, but is it an authentic approach? It's not a human. So for me, like, there's a lot of things going on right now that are really tampering with the word authenticity. And for me, authenticity is not something that can be swayed. Authenticity is authenticity. Fact is fact, truth is truth, genuine is genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's hard when you see in our society, in our world, when that authenticity word is trying to be used differently than what authenticity actually stands for. So it's a different time, to say the least.
Yeah, to say the least. And I know you're younger than me, but I think, from the perspective of just the things we're seeing now, like there's just so much opportunity, but at the same time, there's opportunity for it to go the wrong way or to be used the wrong way.
Absolutely.
I say no matter what you're doing or who you're affiliated with, just do good, be kind, and be yourself. I had posted something over the weekend and I said something about being authentic, and someone commented about, unless you're looking for a job, you can't be yourself when you're looking for a job. And I felt like, wow, I wish I could coach that person, because that's really where you should be yourself, right? And
Yeah.
I think, some of us learn the hard way when we're in roles or when we're in business and we're doing things that aren't aligned with who we are. We're unhappy, or we're not living the life we're aligned to live with and be in. So I think, from that perspective, I think it's very important for people to understand what that is and what
Yeah.
authenticity means for them.
And if I may too, like one of my first career moments where I was really kind of surprised was I was 22. I was working as a intern at the time for an NBC entertainment show in Chicago, like an entertainment around town show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty new, but I was a hard worker and I was doing everything they asked. And my boss came to me one day, and she was a very nice woman. She was a, decent boss, I'll say. And she came up to me one day and just point blank was just like, Jeff, you're not going to make it in this field. And I asked her, I was like, why? And she's like, well, because you're too nice and people are going to take advantage and walk all over you. It's not going to work for you in entertainment. And I told her, I'm like, I'm going to get everything I want done and still be myself and still be a decent person to people. Some people, I think, have that stigma where they think you need to be hard and you need to be aggressive
Yeah.
and to be succeed. And the funny thing is, I'll share with you, and she probably knows it at this point, but every year I make a Christmas card with the people I interviewed that year. So I put all the celebrities that I interviewed that year on the Christmas card every year, and I send out to people being like, thank you for the support this year. And I sent it to usually my contacts and people that have been really supportive. But I also sent it to her every year. We don't really keep in touch, but I know her address. So every year I send her a Christmas card with all the great movie stars I've been able to interview, fortunately, that year. And it's my almost passive aggressive way to show like, hey, I did it on my own terms. You were wrong, but I hope you're well.
Yeah, exactly. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. I hope you're doing good too and you're still being your genuine self.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think people think bold is always in your face or something big. I think bold can be muted, and it can be kindness, and it can be patience, and it can be understanding or being resilient. It doesn't have to be loud.
No.
At least that's what I think. Like, I think it's a whole continuum. And
Yeah.
you can make a bold move by just standing up for someone who doesn't have a voice, which is a lot of the work that I've done. It's just along the way of just, I really think that's wrong, or I really think we shouldn't do it that way. And you don't always get the political points for those types of things, but I think that's not what it's about, right?
Yeah.
In your life, when you think about the time that you stood out, did it the right way, was yourself, was there any moment that comes up in your mind like, I remember that really, really well?
It's tough. There's a lot of things that have happened. The thing I'm really proud about was, I think in 2017, I was Emmy nominated for a television outstanding program host Emmy nomination. And it was just really cool because I really did it all my own way. Of course, most of us do in a lot of ways. A lot of us do not have a film director father, a film producer mother, something like that, or an aunt, uncle, cousin that has a connection. There's a lot of, we throw around the word Nepo baby. And I say always to those Nepo babies, if you have an in, good for you. I mean,
Yeah.
you're lucky.
Nothing wrong with it.
But there is a pride for me, and I've spoken to other individuals in any kind of business about this too, that are not affiliated with anybody. And we did it our way. We did it by ourselves. And there's no ego in that statement. They're just saying, I did it all by myself. No one helped me. My parents weren't able to introduce me to this person or this person. We did it by ourselves. So there's I think there's a larger pride. I just say for me, I can only speak for myself, to be able to say that I did it my way. I really had no help. There were no handouts along the way.
Yeah.
Which is what makes us bold, that we were able to go against a lot of the easy accesses in, and we had to take the road less traveled and make it happen for ourselves in our own unique path. So I think that's bold from my perspective, and that was one of my moments.
Yeah, for sure. I think I always find pride in saying I bootstrapped my company. For me, it was just kind of like, can I do it on my own? Can I make it happen? can I not have to have anyone else's opinion? Because with VC comes opinion and expectation, and
Yeah.
it may change your trajectory. It can.
Yeah.
And so I think I can relate to the kind of feeling proud in that way of getting to where you are today.
I will say, if I can, really quick, one of my faults, though, I would say, and I think some of us have had this too, is sometimes when we do have that tenacity so self-sufficiently on our own, sometimes we have a harder time taking either criticism
Mm-hmm.
or taking input for a helpful direction from people. And there were years where I was like, no, I'm doing this so right. Sure, share what you want to say, but I got this. As I've gotten older, I think it's actually been a benefit to me that I actually do soak in what people say. I don't have to, even if it's not what I agree with, I'll listen to it at least. I'll take a
Right.
moment to consider it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, you know what? That one, no. That's sorry. I appreciate what you said. That's not for me. But some I'll be like, you know what? That actually would be helpful. So like I think there's a way of having to allow yourself to be vulnerable in your boldness that will make you actually a better character, better human, better business person.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there's two ends of it, right? You could be where, no, I'm doing it right. And you could also go the other end where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got that feedback. I'm going to change what I'm doing. I'm going to not keep on the path I was going, because of this feedback. Like
Yeah.
there's the two ends, and probably neither one is good, right? It's somewhere in the middle. And I think one of the things I learned early on from a business perspective, and entertainment is business. Like people need to understand that if they don't already. It's not just for happiness.
Nothing happens just automatically. Everything has a system and it's a project. Yeah, it's very business.
And a purpose.
You're right.
Yeah, it's very strategic. And so I think one of the things people need to realize is you get feedback, but you do need to hear it, but you don't always have to act on it, right?
100%.
But in the way, it's kind of good to know like that's a perspective, and sometimes you do act on it, and I think it's a really good point that you made. Did you always set out to be in this? Is this what you wanted to be when you grow up type of moment? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever anybody may ask me that, I always say it really is, because especially I was the kid on road trips. I have an older sister and a twin brother, and I would be on road trips with my brothers and sisters in like the late 80s, early 90s, and in cars, and I'd be just like annoying them the whole time with movie quotes. And I would just be saying movie quotes out of nowhere in front of them in their ear, and the same kind of shtick that they did in the movie. And it was just always my thing. And I knew I didn't want to go into acting because I could not memorize lines. I just was not an actor type. But I knew I wanted to do journalism because I would watch these interviews on TV, and they felt so robotic and so business transactional to me. Like they didn't seem like they were like really genuinely listening. They were reading off of a cue card and just kind of keep going through the motions. And I was like, this doesn't feel genuine. This doesn't feel like a human conversation. This
Yeah.
feels like a robotic exchange and I mean that very rudely to an extent. It was not fun to watch. And I was like, I feel there's something in me. Obviously I'm young, but at the time I was like, there's something in me that feels like I can have these conversations and make these people that are usually these high profile people that, kind of keep their distance and, private, which I respect,
Mm-hmm.
but ask them questions in respectful, thoughtful ways with my good research that would be able to get them to open up comfortably. And that has really, I feel, been my shtick, and the ways that I have, fortunately, stood out in this industry, that people do come up to me being like, Jeff, you're asking questions no one else is asking. You got him to open up when he opens up to nobody. And I think it's because they see that I am genuinely both kind of a fan, but also a respectful professional with them, that I just want to know more. And in my delivery of my question and my tone, they can see that it is me being genuinely interested. I'm not just reading off of a cue card because my boss asked me to do so. They can tell, and when they can tell, I feel they respond in a more candid, again, we go back to the word, authentic way, and more human way. They open up to you. They almost forget that the camera's there, which is the best part. Sometimes they're beyond, they're actors, so they can be an actor at all times if they need to be. You can see the human comes out, and those are my favorite moments, where you can just really see they have a human moment. And I think audiences appreciate that too, to see like, wow, I've seen this person on the big screen. They seem like a god to me. Wait, they're just like me. And people like to see when we all are really the same. They may have these elevated careers with potentially a lot more money in their income, but we're all the same in a lot of ways. They're just hardworking individuals just like us.
Yeah. I think you could give a master class on the human and I think heart-centric interview. And I think if anyone wants to understand kind of what that looks like, they should check your work out on Forbes or LinkedIn to see some of Jeff's interviews, because he approaches it in a very unique way, a very natural way, in a conversation that doesn't feel, I'm just going to use the word like obtrusive. Like it's not like going in for the whatever,
Hmm.
whatever the key question is. It never feels like that. The Dolly Parton interview really comes to mind for me when she's like in her kitchen and talking
Ah,
about her new cake and icing line. And I think even how that came about was also that you share these types of things on LinkedIn. Is I just reached out and I wondered
mhm.
if I could interview her, and she said yes. And
Yeah,
how does that happen? It happens through that they know who you are. You've established that, you are different from others in the business in the sense of how you approach things and how you treat others. And therefore it also then allows you, to have that moment and to do those type of things. How does someone understand or kind of get to that point to realize that it isn't like a straight line for everything and everything isn't instant? Sometimes it's building a reputation or building authenticity or building trust, which can be extrapolated in any business. But I mean,
yeah.
obviously, you do it very well in the entertainment business and journalism. But what is it that people can understand about that you could just reach out to Dolly's people the night before and then you're talking to her the very next day?
Well, fortunately, with the Dolly one, I saw it was on Twitter like, earlier that day, the day before the interview, where I had no interview even planned or said or thought could be possible. But I saw on Twitter that she was talking about her baking line, that she
Mm-hmm.
was promoting a few new baking goods. And I was like, you know what? She probably wants to talk about it. So it was like, I hit up the baking company's website, went to their website. I just looked at their contact page. It was only like an info page where anybody could just ask a question. But I was like, hey, if you can get this to your media or PR department, it was a shot in the dark. I was literally assuming I'm not going
The
to hear anything.
tenacious,
Tenacious, bold.
yeah, using your
Yeah.
word, yeah,
But, I was like, I'm probably not going to hear it back. My mentality is always, if you don't try, and I try to do this in all life, not just in business, but in all life. If you don't try, you don't know. And for a lot of us, rejection and the word no used to scare me a lot. And it doesn't scare me at all anymore. I mean, in no way. No doesn't scare me at all, which I think is a wonderful place to be at, where no is just like, in my perspective, I'm like, if they say no, I'm like, I don't say it, but I'm like, they're lost. They would have gotten amazing coverage, but then I move on. But at least I tried. I would not have known if I was even on their radar. And they may remember me for like times down the line. Now that I'm on their radar, I'm on their peripheral. Now that they know me, maybe down the line, even if it's a no now, they might be like, you know what? I remember you reached out. He or she has a new thing going on. I have seen your work, fortunately, and let's get you on for this one. So
yeah.
again, I think not being afraid of no in any of our businesses makes us bold too.
Mm-hmm.
To not let no scare us or make us shy away or make us feel like we shouldn't be doing this or aren't gonna make it, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Let those no's almost build more fire in you. For me, the no's make me even more tenacious, which has been a benefit for me. The no doesn't scare
Well,
me.
you learn from those,
You
right?
do.
You learn from the no's, and sometimes it's like, okay, I'm just gonna stay over here being awesome, and you just missed out.
Hmm. Yeah,
Or it's like, okay, maybe I approach this differently, or maybe I wait a little bit, or maybe they need to get to know me a little bit better,
sure.
or
Yeah,
maybe there is a loop around, or maybe it's just a move on. And sometimes they loop back, like you said, by themselves. So I think it's that comfort zone piece for people and that growth mindset of like, I think a no could be seen by some people as a failure, or like I didn't get it, or
or I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough,
yeah,
which is not the
yeah,
way.
or I'm not popular enough, or
Yeah,
whatever it may be, right?
yeah.
Like I have a vision board of like people I'd like to have on the
Hmm.
podcast, and The Rock is one of them. It's over here where I keep pointing.
Awesome.
And like, have you interviewed The Rock?
I haven't yet. It's funny. He
Okay.
has a tequila company, which one of my fellow writers got to interview him recently. I'm sure I will, hopefully and surely at some
Yeah,
point. But
absolutely. If you want to, you will, because
yeah.
he's definitely obviously
Oh, he's
entertaining,
big.
connected, a really good human
Yes.
being, making a difference, and just rocking the
Yeah.
world
No
right
pun
now. And
intended.
whatever he does, yeah.
Yeah,
What's his algorithm for that? Would be really cool to understand that. And I think it actually comes from a base of being him and being
for
authentic
sure.
and
Yeah. No,
just letting it
he's a
out there.
smart businessman between
Yeah,
his movies, his tequila company now, his
production
I think
company.
it's XFL. Like he's got his own like football league now
Yep.
that he's got. He's a smart businessman. And a lot of these people are doing it. Ryan Reynolds is doing the same thing. I've interviewed Ryan several times. He's not only that, but he has Maximum Effort, his own production company that he does his Deadpool movies through, and so many other things. He's got
Yeah.
Wrexham, the football league in England. He's got Aviation Gin, which is his beverage company. So like these people, they've learned that they can use their notoriety, their celebrity to expand their business, and they can kind of immerse them all together in a special way. Like they're being very strategic, which
Yeah.
is very cool to see.
What do you think it is people don't understand about these individuals, which for us, like you said, some people are on a pedestal or some people like it just seem unattainable or they don't seem human. What's the biggest misunderstanding from all the time that you spent? I mean, you have met scads of people, movie stars, musicians, different type of business entrepreneurial individuals who
Mhm.
are connected to entertainment. What's the biggest misunderstanding you think the general public has?
I think again, I think it's people do see these people as untouchables. I call them. These are people that, in reality, most of us don't. We don't have access to these people. These people are
Yeah,
guarded, sometimes literally. You know, like the Meghan Markles and the Prince Harrys of the world. They have security
yeah,
around them.
they
So
have to
yeah,
be.
they have to be. But like they seem like they're on a different wavelength to a lot of people, and that's where a lot of the envy that us everyday people kind of feel sometimes. Like we feel like they're like almost like a top tier human, which at the end of the day, they're just humans. And I think from a journalism standpoint, I always approach my interviews with a respect, but also that we're just people. And I actually think they
Yeah,
respond better unless you're like a certain person. I'm not gonna say names, but unless you're someone that likes to be seen as a god, to an extent,
yeah,
most
yeah,
people want to be treated normally. And that's why whenever I speak to people, I speak to them the same way I'm speaking to you, Lee, and just kind of engaging and having a genuine curiosity. And that's when I think they respond best because they want to be treated normally. And when you treat them like I call it treat them like autograph book. You're like, oh my
yeah,
God, Dolly Parton. It's just so amazing. I never would do that. It just because I think you would actually turn them off and you'd make them a
yeah,
little bit nervous. And then from that way that you were, their responses from there on out are going to be a little more guarded because of the way you
yeah.
were. So it all works together. You got to be careful. It all works together. But just treat these people like normal people because most of them want to be treated like normal people.
Yeah. We did the bowl table in Soho, and a couple of times, New York is New York, so that you could be walking down the street and someone's there and you just don't even
For
know it.
sure.
We had our dinner, and it was actually a movie screening, and Mark Ruffalo was there.
Fun.
And one of the most down to earth individuals. And our group was just going out in between and, wasn't going out specifically to see him. They were, going to the restroom or whatever.
Yeah.
And they would stop by and talk to him. And he was just one of the most approachable individuals. They're like, you should go out there. I was like, no, I'm just going to let him be.
Sure.
I just feel like he's here for what he's doing. But he was very open and was actually having fun taking the pictures. But I'm almost the opposite. If I see someone in the elevator, and this happened a couple times in New York as well, it's like, I know who you are, and I know who you are, but I'm not gonna say anything. I
Mhm.
promise.
Yeah.
Just kind of letting them be, because you can tell, especially in the city. I think people just want to just be. They just want to be left
100%.
alone, or they just don't want to have that autograph moment,
No, for
right?
sure. There is a way, I would say, and I think you did it the right way. You're very respectful about that, Lee. What I say at
Yeah,
minimum, and I don't mind doing, especially if I'm not going to be interviewing them, but I see them like you see them,
yeah,
I'll maybe just turn to them and be like, hey, Jeffrey, huge fan, just saw your movie, hope you're having a good day. And I'll just literally say it that way. I'm not aggressive. I'm just saying my appreciation, but not making it invasive or anything.
yeah. I always feel like a little weird. Maybe I'll try that next time. I think what people don't understand, and like you interview entrepreneurs, I mean, I think so many of the people that you interview are doing something
Hmm.
different. We just, railed off a few of them a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
But like, think of Jennifer Aniston and what she's doing with the different businesses
Hmm.
that she has. And what do you think is the common business element between the key entrepreneurs or some of the key ones that you've interviewed is? What's one of the key ingredients to their success? Obviously, they have their fame and those types of things and the hard work to get to where they are that helps them sell their product. But I mean, what's another ingredient outside of their fame that has led to their success?
Yeah, I think with like Jennifer Aniston, like you said, she has the Lola V hair care company that she co-founded with two other people, Joel and Amy. And I've interviewed her twice in the last year about Lola V, and it's been wonderful to speak with Jennifer. But one of my favorite things is there are a lot of celebrities. I'll speak from the celebrity entrepreneur side. There are a lot of celebrities out there that sometimes are approached, and they've brought this up with me. People like Blake Lively was approached, Ryan Reynolds' wife, an actress. She was approached and said, I had some companies that had a fully created product and just said, hey, we want you to be a part of it in the face and just slap your name on it. And they didn't want to do that. They're like, no, I'm going to make something from the ground up. And that's what like Blake Lively did with her Betty Buzz mixer drink, non-alcoholic mixer drink that she has, which I got to interview her for. She was really big about being like, I want to build this from the ground up. I'm going to have an active hand in it. I'm not just going to show up for the photo shoot day, hold a bottle and be like, good job, scientist. Have a great time with this.
Yeah,
Like she wanted to be a part of the tastings and everything. She even told me she was in New York. She went on before they launched Betty Buzz. Blake Lively went on Fifth Avenue and just went on a corner and brought a bunch of different sample flavors out. and like almost like a lemonade stand for free, and had people just come up and try them and give her feedback. And she just wanted public, like a real life focus group.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I appreciate these people that have this genuine passion for their projects. Yes, we know them from the Hollywood side, but to have such a
Sure.
passion for these other business passion projects and to be really a part of it and not just allow their fame to be put as a, oh, you're gonna pay me a bunch of money just to put my name on it? Go for it. Some people do that, and that's fine. To each their own. But I really respect the people that have an elevated platform, but make sure that they're actually doing the work. Scarlett Johansson has her Outset skincare company I got to
Hmm.
interview her for, and she's been in it since the ground up with her co-founder Kate. You know, and that matters. And I think the public notices this on social media when they post. You can see the difference between I'm holding a bottle and them actually talking about I went to this laboratory and we did this for 6 months, and like showing the grit and showing the work that it took to get there.
Yeah.
I respect it more, and it makes me actually want to buy their product more when I know there was actually like a blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak, that went into this.
Yeah. And I think the other thing people may misunderstand is people think that they hit it out of the park right away.
Yeah.
When they're, again, I think going back to human, and I think that's what we all have in common. And if we start with our commonalities, like that's the piece that's the most important for people to understand, whether, you're in any industry,
Mhm.
entrepreneurial, you're in the corporate world. I mean, that's where we all base out, is that we're human.
Yeah.
Is that these people are trying things and failing and growing and
Mhm.
learning. And I think it's important for people to understand that at times we're very, very alike
100%.
versus different. And I think when it comes to the business of what they do, I think for people to kind of tune into some of those conversations that you have with them, because I think people can learn a lot from really the trial and error and the failure.
Hmm.
Would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
And I think it's also in these, again, I go back to celebrity entrepreneurs, but any of us, we should be able to
Yeah.
show a little bit of vulnerability as people. Again, I go back to the word vulnerability because I think people appreciate when we have those trials and tribulations, showing that we are human. Some things didn't work, but maybe I learned from it. It's a growing process. It's a moment of growth to learn and to move ahead in a smarter potential way.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to be able to not shy away from showing your success moments, but don't be afraid to also be like, you know what? Accountability, like this didn't work, or potentially I screwed up and I take
Hmm.
that on me and I'm going to learn, I'm going to be better moving forward. I think that can be an admirable quality.
Yeah. And every idea is not a good idea,
It's
but
true.
it's an idea,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
And you never know until you try
It's
it. So
true.
I think that's the other thing, is I think when you're doing some things that are bold, people won't understand. And that's okay.
Yeah,
And I think it's important to, value others' opinions, but also know that they shouldn't hold you back.
100%.
And I'm sure whether you're a celebrity or, just a regular person who, like, I actually think they're the same. But you have to just sometimes do things, going back to your definition, on your own.
Hmm.
Be your own person,
Yeah.
and be you. So I think people learning that certainly can learn it through your interviews and some of the things that you share in those interviews, but also from people who are doing it in their everyday lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I would even say, Lee, like originality. One of my favorite other words, like tenacious is one of my favorite words. Originality is big because there's a lot of people in a lot of industries right now that are doing kind of the same thing.
Mhm.
So what's going to make you stand out? You have to find ways to make your product, your delivery, your execution different, original. Otherwise, you're going to be a face in the crowd to an extent. So
Yeah.
I say, it's those disruptors. It's a big word everybody likes to use these days, especially in like business, disruptors. And disruptors doesn't mean
Yeah.
in a negative way. I think that sometimes disruption was known as like a rudeness or a negative word. But disruptors are ones that also are original, are bold, and decide to try something and it pays off.
Yeah.
So disruptors are actually a positive word in my definition these days.
Yeah, I agree. And I think no matter what kind of business you're in, you're always in some bit of a competition. And I think what happens if you're not evolving or disrupting or innovating, people are catching up. At least
100%.
that's what it feels
No, it
like to
is.
me. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll like get a little annoyed. Like I just got here and someone's already trying to copy something I'm doing, or, like it can
Yes.
be very competitive. And then, I have to like kick out of that pretty quickly, let it bother me for a moment, and then kind of like, okay, well, I know I can do the next
Hmm.
level, or I can do something different. And again, people may not understand you're different until like, oh, well, wow, she did this or she did that. And it's just like, oh, well, how did she do that?
Yeah.
So I think be original, be tenacious, be kind, all those things that I think lead to you being ultimately successful.
I would even say really quickly, you brought up somebody in your industry, you jumped to a certain point and then somebody went past you. I always say, and I hope you live by this took me a long time to get here, and I still don't have my perfect moments, but words I try to live by every day is somebody else's wins is not your failure.
Correct.
And I think it took me a long time to see that. Like, I would work my butt off and I'd watch another journalist get this interview. I was like, why did they get that interview when I didn't?
Yeah.
And then,
What did I do wrong?
yeah, what did I do wrong? Or why am I not making it like them? And I'm like, I've learned that their win is not my loss. Now I'm more about supporting them. I used to be like, no, I'm not even going to give them a like. I'm not going to do anything. I'm like, no, it doesn't take anything away from me. We think in our head, it's really
Yeah.
only in our head that we feel like we're a failure because they got the win. But
Yeah.
celebrate victories. I really do live in a world where we all can win.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be at different times and different degrees, but I really do live with the mentality that in this whole world, we all can win. And I think if more people had that mentality, I think it'd be a little bit more of a pleasant place.
Yeah, I love that. As we kind of close out, I'm wondering kind of what your outlook is for 2023 and beyond when it comes to journalism and the things that you do in the celebrity and Hollywood world. Like, what do you see? You talked about AI just a few minutes ago. Is that going to have an impact, and in what way, or what other things are you seeing when you think about journalism in your area?
Yeah, I mean, well, AI is a big thing right now, especially with the writer's strike happening, the WGA writer's strike, SAG-AFTRA, where like the actors for like television and radio and such, they just did a vote, which was 97.91% vote, authorizing a strike if negotiations for better wages and whatnot aren't agreed upon in the next few weeks. So they could be joining the picket lines with the WGA, the directors union after that. And a lot of producers are saying, and I hope it's not the case, but there are people that are saying that like, well, if we can't get the writers back, AI can write it for us, which is almost a true fact, which is a very chilling thing to think that these computers can be taken away from individual jobs and human emotions because it can actually think kind of like human emotions. So it's a really weird time in Hollywood that the individual is maybe not being as valued because they see the technology there and be like, well, we can just have Chat GPT do it, and we're saving so many incomes that we'd have to pay. So it's a weird time, but I hope that doesn't become the case. But for me, I can speak for me, storytelling wise, I want to just keep telling stories that more so matter, that need to be told. Recently, I interviewed Michael J. Fox about his Apple TV documentary called Still, which is really great. I recommend everybody check it out. But I got to speak with him about it. And I talked about his Michael J. Fox Foundation, which he's had since 2000. And he has done the most breakthrough research to help people that are before they even get symptoms. Like, he can help people not have the symptoms that he's had to have over the last 30 years or so. And he was just so honest about, I asked him, like, what advice do you have for other people with Parkinson's like yourself that are going through this like you? And he's like, just understand that this is your life. Like, it sounds like a sad thing, but it's like, be here now and embrace that this is your life. It is a tough thing, but if you don't jump away from it, embrace it. And I had so many people message me after I posted his word that either have Parkinson's or have a family member. I had people on LinkedIn being like, Jeff, I said that to my dad, and that meant everything to him because he's felt lost for so long. Like, this is only him going through this. And for me, as a journalist, as a human, the best work that I could ever do is, yes, it's fun to do a red carpet and whatnot, but when you can actually like help others' lives through entertainment, which everybody thinks entertainment, it's fluff, it's fun. No, there's ways that you can actually make a direct impact for the better in people's lives. And that's why I still go for it. Like, my next article is going to be on Sada Ramirez. They, because they are non-binary, are on And Just Like That. They played Che Diaz on the Sex and the City new chapter series. And they talked about like having a supportive work environment and making sure that people on set respected the they them pronouns. They are not she or her, you know. So I really appreciate these kind of stories that I can share, because I hope that when I publish this, people will be like, I feel seen, I feel heard. I've been feeling like I've been doing this by myself, but here's Sada Ramirez speaking out for me and with me. And to be able to be that journalist and be that messenger to an extent that can help share that is for me priceless. Like, that's where my job feels like I'm doing the right thing. Sometimes we question our work. Those are the moments when I'm like, you know what? I'm making a difference, and there's no ego in that. It's the genuine love and the compassion for people. And if I can make a difference in one person's life, that is the most amazing thing I could ever ask for.
Yeah, you humanize it. So you humanize it, I think, for all your guests, and kind of help people relate or connect.
Yeah.
or realize something. So I think that your interviews are very powerful. I hope everyone checks out Jeff, his work at Forbes. All the information is in the episode notes for you to check him out. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being on the Bold Lounge, and keep being bold.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Bold Lounge podcast. Through the continuum of bold stories, vulnerability to taking a leap, you will meet more extraordinary people making a positive impact for others through their unique and important story. By highlighting these stories, we hope to inspire others and share the journey of those with a bold mindset. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast and look forward to sharing the next bold journey with you.